Hi there. Welcome to this chat today about the role of thought in your relationship with food. I'm Michaela, Ellis. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. Looking forward to this chat and discussion. Would love to have you ask any questions that may arise when you listen to what I'm going to share with you today. And really what I'd love to do is to just spark a curiosity in you and invite you to just see for yourself how this might relate to you, your life, and your relationship with your thought and with food, because it's all intertwined there. So it would be great to, if you'd like to share where you're from, that would be awesome. It's always nice to know where we are from here in the world. I love the connection that we're able to make through this creative energy here. Hi Ginger from Tennessee. Nice to see you, meet you. It would be lovely to know too if you've been to one of my lives or if you've seen me before on Insight Timer in any way. I did my first 2 lives last week and I have 3 this week. This being one. New. Nice. Well, really nice to be in your company, Ginger. Yeah, thanks for joining me. I hope you get something useful out of this. Whether it's just a curiosity for you or if, we all have a relationship with food. We all do. We consume it every day, most of us. And there's a lot of things tied up in with food. Christine, is that you? Welcome, if it is. I'm seeing your Curious George. I love that little symbol there. Hey, I just read your note before, Christine, so I can't remember everything, but we can certainly answer to some of that. I can't open it on my other thing right now, but I'll try and remember. But let's see where it goes, shall we? So I'd love to hear where you're all from, if you'd like to share. And if you discovered this from Insight Timer or maybe from someplace else, because I posted it. Oh, okay, great, Christine, great. And you know what, then I'll read it today. I'll actually make some notes so I remember the questions that you had, and then I'll be sure to answer them. So that's awesome. That's great. Cool. I'm from Alberta, Canada, a city. Well, we're not really considered a city, but we're as big as a city, Okotoks, Alberta, Canada. And I think we have blue sky again today. We've had a lot of smoke, I think, coming from BC and even northern Alberta. Yeah. So, well, let's get to it, shall we? So, today we're going to be talking about the role of thought in our relationship to food. You're welcome, Christine. You are most welcome. I love questions. Like, I welcome your questions and your challenges. Like, if there's something, we're all equal. We all come from the same source of energy. We're all on a journey through life together, and we all have different experiences, and we've all seen new things, fresh. And when I say new and fresh, I'm talking about that we've seen it from an inside place. It's an insight. It's not an intellectual, I figured this out. I cracked the code by, doing ABC or XYZ. It's not so much a formula, although we could play with metaphors like that for sure. But we're all on this journey together. So you've seen things. I'll be talking about things that I may see something in one way, and you see it in a way that's clearer, in a way that, so I learn from you. I learn from your questions. I learn from your shares. I kind of believe that that's what we're here on this earth to do. Whether you're a teacher on Insight Timer or you're a friend to someone, we all communicate with each other. And when we're communicating from as clear a place as we possibly can. And let me go into that a little bit here, because the foundation of the work that my grounding is in something called the three principles, and also the other laws of the universe. I've done studying with Abraham, who is about law of attraction. And when I say that, I'm going to, because I know there's been a lot of, like, years ago I looked at law of attraction, The Secret and all that, and it didn't make sense, and I felt like I went down a path that wasn't really helpful. And when I learned about the principles a few years ago, all of the other laws of the universe I discovered are within these three principles. And truly, there's only one. There's one law, really, the main sort of big umbrella, and that is that we are all one. We all come from the same place. We are all equal. So any questions or anything that you would love to share, do. Or if you say, well, I see it like this, let's explore that too, because we'll see fresh and new for all of us. Yeah, that's really great. So if you don't already follow me and you find that you enjoy this today, do follow me. Would love to be in community with you. Donations are always an option, and I do say option. And I would love to hear any other subjects that might come up that might spark, hey, what about this? Can you speak to that? And I could do another talk or a live or create something else that would be helpful. So let's jump in. And if you were here last week, it was an experience for me to come live here, and it's a different format and different technology, and for some reason I had a lot of thinking about it, and the three principles of mind, consciousness, and thought, as articulated by a gentleman who has since passed, but he was a Scottish welder, and he had an enlightenment experience, and he saw through that, oh my goodness, everything is thought. Everything is made up of thought. And when I say those words, it's like I'm saying a sentence. But when we really settle into this idea, like truthfully, my mind can't totally comprehend that. Although I've seen that it is true, and I've seen how it plays out, like how it works. That the thought is our creative. It's our creative stuff. It's like, I have Play-Doh. It's like Play-Doh. It's like thought is just like this, and we get to take it out of the jar, or not even our mind, from here, but really when we allow it to come from the spirit that we are, come from there, and just allow whatever wants to be created, we can create anything with this, just with a little bit of thought. Everything is created first in our thoughts, and then in some kind of form. Like, whoever came up with this great recipe for Play-Doh that it lasts so long, and it's fun, and it's easy to manipulate, and everything is created by thought. So it's pretty cool. Divine mind is, of course, the source energy that lives and breathes and animates us. And then divine consciousness is awareness. It's our ability to be aware of what's around us, to orient ourselves so we don't like step off a cliff, or we learn these things. So, and it's like, who am I in relation to? We're always in relation to our own thinking, our own thoughts about whatever it is that's before us. I'm in relationship to this Play-Doh for Christmas last year. Was it last year? Was it the year? I can't remember. Yeah, it was last year. I stuck one in everyone's stocking. And then we would create things and have people guess what it is that we created. And we just did some different things with it. So when I'm one of my relationships to this, pardon me, is Christmas. And some laughs and giggles that we had in the crazy things that we were creating. But really, it's just Play-Doh. If I didn't have a thought about it, it's just something useful that I could make something out of if I wanted to. So I created a mind map. So this is different than how I did it last week, because I really love your involvement. I would love to spark curiosity in you today and invite you to spark motion in experimenting for yourself, to see for yourself how this is true in your own life, because it's true for all humans, right? But where I find it really helpful, it's not just to sit back and listen and take it in and then try and figure it out and was like, well, how does it work there? Or how, well, I don't think that. It's just actively get into it as you're moving about your day in, making meals and moving around your house and interacting with your family or the local grocer or whatever. Just notice the words that are being said and how it's thought. Notice that everything that comes out of my mouth is coming out because there's a thought that has arisen to formulate words. And then, the words are formulated and it comes out. But it was originated by thought. Really quickly, I just want to point out two things about mind, because I talk about this. I'll talk about the personal mind, and that is the what we as on this earth, humans, what we know, what we've learned, what we've been conditioned to believe or take on, accept, go along with, whatever, or resist or whatever. It's all thought. It's all thought. That is our personal mind. And the universal mind is that of the energy that lives and breathes through all of us. And it'll be expressed uniquely through each of us, through each of our own unique bodies. So when we talk about thought, and Sydney Banks said, he articulated it this way. He said there's thought with a little t, and that he spoke about could be considered your personal mind thinking. It's not new and fresh. It's already been thought before. It's already there. You're basing it either on past experiences or maybe you're imagining or imaginings for the future. But it's all using stuff that's already created. It's like moving the furniture around in a room. You can do so many things with it, but it's still the same furniture. You can paint the walls and all of that, but it's still the same house. When we're talking about universal mind, we're talking about insight, inspiration, thought, divine thought with a capital T. It has a different feel to it. I know we've all experienced it because that's how it works for all of us. And now we can be a little bit more aware of it in our day-to-day. So, I am curious to know if you would like to share when I say, your relationship to food, because that's what we kind of typically talk about. We don't talk about the relationship of our thought to food. We talk about what is our relationship to food. I'm curious to know, when I say that, like, what comes up? How does it come up? Hey, Mimi, I think I recognize you there. Nice to see you. How does it come up for you? Mine, well, I'll give you a moment. I would love to hear if you would like to share. And while you're doing that, I will share a little bit about what it's been like for me over the years. I grew up in a farm in southeast Saskatchewan, and I was the youngest of 7, and we had like a lot of, my dad had, there was 10 of them in their family. No, that's not true. There was 9. Oh my gosh. There's 8. I don't want to go through all their names. There was 8. It's interesting because I was thinking of one of the families who have 10 kids, and we used to share. We had chickens and grain, and we would share they would get all of our cracked eggs that we couldn't sell, and they would feed them to their pigs, and they would share fresh cream from their cows. It was that kind of farming community and families, right? So there was always food, and rich food, and lovely food, and everything was homemade mostly, and rich and full of flavor, and just good. So when I baking from that time in my life, and growing up, because Mom was a fabulous baker as well, there was emotion, and there was whatever it was, right? So it was family. And there was also a lot of other things in there. I used food to soothe. I used food as a distraction. I used it for many other things than just to nourish my body. So when I think about my relationship and how thought fits in there, that our thinking about food can affect what we choose. Here's the thing. There's no good or bad food. The only thing that determines whether something is good or bad is what we think about it. I'm betting that we've all heard of people who ate, so I'm going to use things like the greasiest, fattiest, sugary food, and, drank 15 cups of coffee, and, and even smoked a package of cigarettes or whatever a day, and lived to some incredibly long aged life. I'm betting that they didn't have a lot of thinking about what they were consuming. I bet they were just enjoying it. I don't know. I just get that sense. So what determines whether a food is healthy for you or not healthy for you is your particular system, not your thoughts about it necessarily. But your thoughts can change the experience of the food. Here's an example. So if I've done this so many times in my life, I've been on many diets, had eating disorders. I dallied with bulimia quite a number of years ago. And when I went, diets always involved, salads and, that kind of thing. Well, here's the thing. I love lettuce. I love romaine lettuce. I love really all kinds of lettuce. arugula. Right here, we're getting a lot of arugula in our stores here in Canada. So I love arugula. I love the pepperiness of it. But when I used to go on a diet, and I would it's like all the good stuff is cut out, and it's like all I got is a salad. Well, all of a sudden, salads that I loved were not loved. They were endured. They were, later I learned to, it's just like this, that's how it was. That's how it used to be. Food that I know nourishes my body, not because the scientists have told me so, or the doctors or the food guide or whatever. I know what feels good. And what feels good one day doesn't always feel good the next day. I'm like, those are indicators. Tina, hi Tina. Food has always been used as a comfort when bored, sad, or upset. Yeah. And Tina, I totally get you. It was for me too. And at times I can go there, but I'm very aware of it. And often it doesn't happen. Yeah. Hi, Lori. I don't know if you guys were on yesterday or Friday's call, but we were talking about what's really happening when we use food, when we eat to comfort ourselves, or eat when we're bored, or when we're sad or upset. And it looks like the food is helping us. The food is making us feel better. But in fact, all that's happening is that whatever thoughts we were thinking to have us feeling bored or sad or upset, as soon as we turn our attention away from it, and in this case to food, so we're looking at the food and we're eating the food, and actually most of the time we're not actually present to a food. That's for another day, another day's talk. But our attention is taken away from the thinking that was going on, having us feeling how we were feeling. Because we experience the feeling of our thinking. Only, ever, 100% of the time, no matter who you are, if you are human, you experience the feeling of your thinking. That's it, that's all. So, in consideration of this, so what happens when we're going to food for something is that our attention is just taken off that thought that was having us feel upset. And then we get into a habit. We get into where we just do it, where there's not really a thought anymore. There is, but we're not aware of it. But it seems that we're not thinking, that we have no control, and we're just automatically going for this. After an event like this, I was involved a number of years ago. This was a really big deal. I made it a really big deal. I hope you're getting my humor. I did. In my mind, I made it a really big deal. I'll just finish this thought and then I'm going to answer to you, Lori. I was organizing this outdoor movie night, and it was for our local school, and there was lots of money involved, and we were, creating the money for it. But after the meetings, I went to both. I went to both food and I went to alcohol. And it became a habit because I was so stressed, and those things seemed to make me feel better. And of course, they didn't, but my distraction away from the thinking about the meetings and the pushback, because people didn't see the vision I did, and they didn't know that I'd already got all these donations in. I wasn't spending the society's money. It was, and all of that, but there was just a lot of energy around it. So that was my go-to, and it became a habit. It became something that, even if the meeting wasn't stressful, I would just come home and eat and drink. So, but there was thought. It happens so when you even if you don't catch, even if you're not aware of the thought that happened before the feeling and then the action taking, once you're aware that it's happening, you can start to catch it. And that is really key in breaking into that, in just noticing. Yeah. So the whole thing about the salads, and well, let me get back to Laura. You said, I think too, from years of dieting, you level good as good or bad. Label. Right. Yes, absolutely. And here's the cool thing. Well, I won't go into this too much today, but our bodies, right, that's what I was getting to, was about you can trust yourself. Now, when I say trust yourself, who am I saying? Who can you trust? You can trust your universal mind. You can trust the nudges and the information that your universal mind, that inspiration, God, your creator, source energy, is feeding you, is guiding you 24/7. And the body is the ultimate indicator of when you're following universal mind guidance and when you're trying to follow your personal mind guidance. No, not 100% of the time, because sometimes we've, what we figure out in here actually works. But I don't trust that so much. I trust the feeling. So the key, I guess, is to trust the feeling in your body. So whether a food is, so I'm my own experiment. So for the last 2 years, the first insight, I discovered the 3 principles and then had a greater understanding of the law of attraction. And actually all the laws of the universe are really all in there. And remembering there's only one, the law of one. But it's all in there. How we attract, because we're all energy. So law of attraction is really about vibration. Or, it's about a few things, but it's really about vibration. And it's like everything that is created has a vibration. Now, when we resonate, like when you read the title of this talk or whatever, you might have resonated with, oh, maybe that's something I would. Now, I could have come on, and maybe some people have already left because they didn't. I don't resonate with this chick. I'm out of here. That can happen, right? That is all resonation. So you'll know, and you can use the same thing with food or whatever you're putting into your body. Where was I going with that? Oh, right. I was answering to the good or bad thing, the labeling good or bad. The thing is, we can, now that we are kind of aware of this, we don't actually have to label anything. Because here's the thing. One day, something might feel really good for your body. And another day, like I had bacon and eggs this morning, and it was great. I don't want bacon and eggs, I'm finding every day. Some days when I think about, do I want bacon? And it's like, it'll be like I'll feel it. I'll feel it in my body. And I bet you guys do too, right? There's like a feeling, not so much, what would I like today? And then it was like, well, that sounds good, or that, but when we say it sounds good, instead look to what feels good. What feels good for you. And that's the thing, and that's the sticky thing about diets too. It's like, someone can prescribe, excuse me, something for you to have. And if it happens to resonate, if it happens to feel good, great, it's easy. But as soon as something is feeling like, oh my gosh, and this is what's on the menu and I have to have this today because okay, well, what do you think? Do you think that typically that healthy salad with all of those different colored vegetables in it and is, and it's supposed to be so healthy for you, and there's like, a measured out, I don't know, teaspoon of oil or whatever, all those, very finely measured out things are in this thing, and it's like you've got the go ahead, like, go, that one's good for you, have that. And it's just like, it's just not feeling good. So as you're eating it, you're feeling maybe a little like bored, maybe a little resentful, maybe a little, oh, one moment please. For some reason, my cable has come out of my computer and I just got a low battery mark. Sorry, it's always plugged in. So sorry about that. It's not always plugged in. Obviously, I moved it and I forgot to plug it in. So, do you think that food is really serving your body in that moment? That healthy, made up, salad? I don't know. When you have energy work is up for many years, I've done energy work as well. And understanding that and understanding the, we call them energetic blocks or whatever in your body. Really, guess what it is? It's thought. It's thought blocks. You just call it energy. You get congested. You get things that are sort of built up, tied up. Well, that's how I see it. Now, not everyone's going to see it like that, but that's kind of how I see it in my mind. That even when I'm having, and it might be very tasty, but if I'm thinking that, oh my God, another salad, it's not going to give my body the nutrition that it needs. Because my body is actually asking for something else. Now I'm talking here about when the universal mind, speaking through the feeling of my body, is saying like, no to that. You actually need more protein today. Or today is a day you need some potatoes. You need it for whatever. I heard they're good for brain, whatever. Just going with what feels good. So the label of good or bad, I invite you to just wipe them away. Just throw them off the table and just see what you can feel. Oh, okay, well, hang on here. Like if you have a known allergy or something like that, and you have a harsh reaction to something, like, don't go eating a bunch of them just because Michaela said throw out all the rules. But I do invite you to just check in. Just check in and see what comes up for you. Whenever whenever you either think of food, or you're going to make yourself a snack, or you're going to the kitchen, or you're thinking about your family. This was a really cool thing when my son is 20, my daughter is 17 now. Remember when William was little and he went through where it's just like he wasn't like hardly eating anything. I was just like putting all different kinds of things in front of him. And I talked to someone, there was a few people who I go to who were kind of parenting experts and stuff. And she said, don't worry about it. He's not starving himself. Just let him trust his system. As long as he's getting, she said, instead, rather than look at nutrition on the daily basis, I'll look at it on a weekly basis. so that there's an allowance for him to trust himself. That's the thing. We get conditioned to not trust ourselves and to instead listen to the experts. I'm okay with going to an expert to help me to understand how my body works. I am through menopause now, and my body is not working the same as what it did before. And so I am my own experiment. I'm learning. And if I need to go and talk to someone about it, I'm going to do it. I've done a little bit of that. I was really stubborn for a long time. It's like, I'm intuitive. I can do this. I understand how this works. I'm just going to feel my body, and I'm going to just let it guide me every step of the way. Well, guess what? Sometimes I was getting like a nudge to, hey, check this out. And it was outside of me. It was somebody else an expert. Well, it turns out like, oh, that was actually help. When I finally okay, let me look at that. Because it kept coming up. It kept coming up into my awareness from different places. So it's like, okay. And it was like, okay, that was a little helpful. I think I have more to learn. So I think it's a really great idea to understand how this system works. This amazing mechanism, this vehicle that we have, that universe is wanting to express through us. Well, it also wants to, it doesn't only express through us, it experiences the expression of it. And when we have a icky feeling in our body, or tension or tightness or whatever, that is telling us that whatever thoughts we're thinking, like I must eat this so that I will, but if it's not right for you right now in this moment, it's not wanting to experience that. There's something else that the system needs to satisfy. To satisfy what? It might be nourishment. It might be enjoyment. It might be, go get that ice cream cone. No, not from that store. Go to that store. Go to that shop. Not the soft ice cream. Go to the hard ice cream that has 800 flavors. And pick that one. It'll guide you. So it's satisfying all kinds of things. Taste, our all of our different flavors on our tongue, the bitter and the texture. I want something crunchy right now. No, we're having this tonight, and it's like, oh. It's interesting. It's interesting creating food for a family. Because guess what? Even though we're all equal, we're all live by the same energy, we all have a very unique system and essence, like who we are, that wants to be satisfied. So the whole idea of, like it's interesting when I think back, on the farm, and there was like always so much food. Not like in our own family, not so much. We were a meat, potatoes, vegetable kind of family because we grew it all on the farm. But when we would get together, like there was a variety. Why do people love smorgasbord? Oh my God, that word, smorgasbords. Smorgasbords. Or potlucks. Because all of their taste buds and the textures, everything is there's something here to satisfy every part of my being. It's not always practical to have all of those things, but we can. It doesn't have to be on a large scale. So I'm kind of getting off track, I think, from this whole idea about the relationship with food. If there's any questions or anything you'd like to share, please do. Please do. I put a note here about, what if you knew you could trust yourself in choosing food rather than going by another's rules? And I'm saying you can. I believe you can. I believe I can. I've proven it. I've proven it. This is a curious one. I'm going to share a couple of like food things for me. In the early, well, I guess it was late summer, early fall-ish kind of, I just, okay, chocolate. I'm just going to have all different kinds of chocolate. Every time I went to the grocery store, I would buy a different kind of like chocolate thing because I wanted to test this out. I heard about this study that was done with these 3-year-old children that were, for 30 days, they were given food, like, so it was kind of before they really got into knowing that, you know, like getting the conditioning of this is good and this is bad and you shouldn't have that and not. So they were put into this wherever, I don't know where they were. I was just going to create something that sounded awful. But basically for 30 days, they were provided a smorgasbord of all different kinds of food, everything, cookies, candies, you know, all of everything, pasta, you know, what society would say was healthy food and not healthy food. And for the first few days, they ate all of the ice cream and the, you know, like all the candies, all the stuff that is probably maybe not, you know, laid out for them at home. And then after a few days, they started to go more for the fruits and the vegetables and different food. I believe that we will naturally go to things of nature. Oh, I just made a rule. I just created a rule. To me, it does make sense that nature will resonate, but I'm not gonna. That I just caught that. So this is good. Give me a moment, because just because it's of nature doesn't mean that it's good for everybody. So still, it goes by the system. You are unique. You are unique. And what feels good to you might make me sick, might make me feel gross. Or, here's a great example. When my niece, she was probably a year or so, because she was eating any kind of food. And we had mixed vegetables. And I did it a few times just because it was so funny. I was feeding her. I gave her a little, spoonful, and there was a lima bean. And you could see her mouth working, and all of a sudden the lima bean popped out. All the other vegetables stayed in. So in the next spoonful, I gave her another. I had her mom, watch. Did it again. Out came the lima bean. I thought it was hilarious. And now when I think about it, it's like, oh my gosh. She knew whatever that is, get that out. Funny, right? Yeah, right? It was amazing. Now when I think about it, I got goosebumps actually. Because at the time it was just this is so cute. She doesn't like lima beans. I bet you that was her system, her guidance, her universal mind saying, spit that out. And she did it. It was very cute. Very cute. Oh, the whole thing about the chocolate. So I did it. I did it with chips. All of the things that I would limit in the house. And, typically if we're going to get chips, then we're just getting a small bag, or we're going to get it when there's people over and they're good. And then the rest will go in I used to throw away a lot of food. And I don't know. It's it's fine. What I found is that when I just gave myself free rein, I found that I didn't really want it. Now, here's my theory. The pendulum for me was way over here. No chocolate. And then there was keto chocolate. It was just okay, you can have keto chocolate. But it was way over here that you can't have it, or very little, or you need to limit it, that kind of thing. And then all of a sudden I just opened up the gate, and the pendulum swung the other way. eat chocolate, eat chocolate, eat chocolate, eat chocolate. And then before long, it's just like, don't want chocolate. So I believe, and I don't know, I'll test it out with maybe other food over time too. There hasn't been anything that's really been baking. I'm going to try it with baking. I'll let you know how it goes. Because I do have I like creamy stuff. I like whipped cream and cream filled things. Those are kind of my favorite stuff. But what I believe happened is that I just gave myself permission. I took the label off. I can have as much as I want. And in the beginning, it was just like, I'm going to eat as much as I want. So it was more rebellion. It was more like, I'm just going to, no more rules. So in the beginning, it was kind of that. Because I've worked with people before too, and it's just like, eat what you want. And then I heard it. It was like a couple months in. It's just like, well, I'm eating what I want. It was like, I wanted this, so I had it. And then I heard it. It's like, oh, that. Tell me about that. Tell me about that. Because I think I caught a little bit of rebellion in there. And she said, yeah. Oh, okay. That's not universal mind. That's not universal mind saying, yeah. That would be good. Yes, have that. That want, when I suggested that, yes, you can, but not personal mind wants, because that's all messed up with thought. There's like a whole bunch of thinking around it. I can have it because I deserve it. I deserve to have this chocolate. It will not satisfy you. I'll probably be saying this over and over and over again, but you can't get enough of what you don't really need. You just can't. Why? Here's the why. Because you're not satisfying what's really wanting to be satisfied. So in that case, it was just like, they were like, well, I'll just go back to me with the chocolate. It was just like, in the beginning, it was like, right, all the rules are off and that's it. And then it was like, and then it was just like, oh my gosh, like, I should just go for it. And, and like, is this going to end? Because I know on the farm growing up, when Mom would bake, there was many kids. There were 7 of us. So, I mean, most of them had gone by the time, because they were like almost 18 years old, older than me, some of them. Or, well, one of them, but there was a lot of us. So the baking went quickly. So there was like a ravenous kind of, so I got to get all mine. So there's all kinds of these thoughts that can get in the way of us discerning for ourselves the foods that are good for us in the moment. In the moment. Christine, I catch myself thinking I deserve this, so instead, what would universal mind say? That's lovely. Here's the thing, Christine. If you're feeling like, so here's how I would look at that. I hope you're okay with this. So when I would say, I deserve this, to me, that says that I'm feeling maybe, I'm just going to throw out some possibilities. I'm likely feeling unappreciated. I'm feeling like maybe it's all on me, or I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, that was so hard. I did that and I deserve this. I used to do it when my kids were younger. We lived out in an acreage, and we drove a lot for their activities and that kind of thing when they were younger. And I was a Starbucks drive-through queen because I deserved it. So what did I really need? What did I need? Well, first of all, if I'm looking outside of me for appreciation, that is a variable. Maybe I'll get it, maybe I won't. I can appreciate me though. I can I can acknowledge me. Do I still want it from someone else? Yeah. Maybe the acknowledgement, the like me acknowledging me is saying, hey, Rob, I did this today and it was really hard and this is how it felt and I really need you to hear me. I really need you to just appreciate what I did and ask for it. How can you appreciate yourself in a way that is satisfying, that feels good? And I'll just share one other thing that I used to do. It's not related to food, it's related to escape. It was like I'd go for, like, I would sleep a lot. But I was still doing it with this I deserve kind of thing, rather than, oh my gosh, this would just feel so good right now. So yeah, when looking at it like that, Christine, what would universal mind say? You're going to feel it in your body. That universal mind speaks to us and we pay attention to our body, right? Not always. Sometimes it takes a while. I had to get sick with drinking coffee before I finally stopped, just a few weeks ago. And it's like, I have no desire for it. All I wanted was the cream and sugar anyways. Or the sweetener. I used honey, but whatever. I just wanted the sweet taste and the creamy taste. So it's like, oh, for heaven's sake, just go get something sweet and creamy and have that. That will be satisfying. All the cups of coffee in the world, because I don't even like the taste of coffee. Like coffee on its own. For all you coffee lovers, I appreciate you. I have some friends who are like coffee. It's like they love their coffee. Okay, yes, I need to get the love and acknowledgement from myself. Yes. And if it feels good, ask for what you need from whoever's around to give it. Here's the thing though, your satisfaction will always come from within. We are inside out livers. We experience we experience the feeling of our own thinking. So if I would ask Rob, I just had a really hard day today. I did this and it was so hard. I just really need you to if I have an expectation in my head about how that should look, well, I can ask for a hug. But ultimately, my experience of whatever it is I'm needing in the moment comes from within. I hope I kind of got across that idea of, that's like another talk about expectations and how we can absolutely ask for what we want, but be okay with not getting it exactly how you were asking for it. This is where, like sitting with yourself, like just being quiet and asking, what do I really need? Because it's all from there. Maybe it's just a walk. Oh, I just need to lay in the sun for 5 minutes. I just need to swing. I have this swing. My sister gave it to me. It was on her farm, and then she sold her farm, so it's like big. It's made with like poles out of wood. It's a 2-seater swing, and I love it. And it has a really nice big swing, and it's all wood. So there's no cover or anything on it. So several times a day, or a number of times a day, I will go out and swing. I'll probably do that for a bit when we're wrapped up here. Just enjoy the swing. What's happening? There's nothing here that I'm feeling I'm escaping from or anything, but I have another call, so it's just a way to just just get present. Just clear the mind. Just let everything settle. Because I know after the call, it was just like, oh, so someone mentioned this and there was a question about that. Well, that would be helpful. Maybe that I do. So I'll have that too. I'll make a few notes and then I'll just go and just. So what do you need? I'm going to have a look at my mind map, which I quite enjoy doing. I did this last week too, but then I tried to put everything in order. It's kind of like, this is a really good, I'm going to show it to you. That's it. That's what I'm kind of going from. But last week for the 2 talks that I did, then I tried to put it in some kind of order and like I should logic it and put it. That's like taking all of the food in the world and instead of, or all the, let's say all the food that's in our home that's available to us right now. Lori, thank you so much. I so appreciate that. Thank you. It's like having all the food in your home available to you and you can have anything. And then all of a sudden we start to like, and something that's like, yeah, I want, this feels good. Yeah, that would be really good right now. But it's bacon. Okay. And then I want, and then I'll have an orange. It's like, no, can't do that because if you eat, the Diamond Cookbook, whatever it was called, said that if you have bacon and then you have fruit, it's going to rot in your stomach, all these things, right? It's like that. That's what I was doing with this. I was trying to then put in all of these rules and all of a sudden it's just like, I don't know what I want anymore. And then I'll just go grab something maybe that I didn't really want because I can't. It's kind of like that. It's like when we learn to just kind of go with the flow, like how does this want to come out? What wants to come in? What wants to come in? What does my body need right now? Yeah. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else, important. I think, how I would love to end this is just an invitation to just slow down a little bit when you're going to food. See if you can if you'd like to do an experiment of your own. Now, in full disclosure, there was a time where I thought, oh my gosh, am I ever going to stop eating chocolate? And I did. It's like, oh my gosh, by the time I get through the period of where I'm not going to want chips anymore, I'm going to have gained 10 pounds. I didn't. I didn't. It was very surprising. I invite you to just get to know yourself. Get to know your system. If something comes up that feels like, I keep being nudged over here, I think I'm going to check that out. Maybe it's, something for me, it was something about, hormones and, different ways of moving your body and that kind of thing. It's like I checked it out. It's like, okay, that was helpful information. Great. But I didn't do it right away because I told you about that resistance. Like, trust. I'm just going to trust and not make judgments. I'm going to try not to make judgment. When I catch myself making a judgment, just like I was before when I was saying foods of nature, it's just like, no rules. No rules here. Universal energy rules, your essence rules. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here and your comments, and thank you, Lori, for the donations. So appreciate that. If you ever have any questions or anything, like, you can message me. I'm happy to answer. There's a talk tomorrow. So tomorrow is on the power of attention. So that'll be fun. And then the next day is healing the body from the inside out. And, we're already pointed in that direction. So it's been a pleasure to be here. And I wish you the best. Have a great night. And love to you. We'll see you again. Follow if it feels good. You'll know. Okay. Thank you so much for all the hearts. It's lovely. It's lovely. Thank you. You're welcome, Laura. You're welcome, Christine. Yeah. Thank you to all. Okay. Have a great rest of your day. Ciao.